Welcome to Thursday, August 17th, 2023. Your day with a podcast being brought to you by Cowboy State Daily. Check them out at cowboystatedaily.com. Well, there are two really big weather features across North America and this hemisphere that are going to really dominate everything. We've got, obviously, what you see there in the Pacific. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we've got a really big area of high pressure. It's just a very dominant kind of late season high pressure system that you sometimes see in August building in the central United States. Underneath it, it's going to be hot and dry. And this high pressure ridge is going to be like a wall, just kind of blocking weather patterns and kind of making weather go around it. That combined with what you see there on the satellite imagery is Tropical Storm Hilary. It won't be a tropical storm for very long. It's going over the waters and it's going through wind patterns that are extremely favorable to allow it to become a hurricane. At least a Category 3, maybe a 4. But it's heading on a northerly trajectory, changing latitude quickly. So it won't be a hurricane for long. But as it goes northward and rapidly intensifies, it's going to become a doozy. It is headed right to Southern California, the desert Southwest, and the far west. It will have major impacts with very heavy rain. There will be tropical storm force winds going into California, especially western and southwestern areas of Arizona. As we mentioned yesterday, the exact track of these things is extremely difficult. So there's going to be some wobbling on the forecast on the exact track and where the heavy moisture will fall. But we're kind of honing in on where the system is going to go. Now, for most of you watching this podcast in the western United States, and even some for you in the northern plains, this hurricane and tropical storm pattern is going to affect you. It's just how much will it affect you? Some of the impacts will be pretty minimal. Some of the impacts could be pretty strong, depending on where you are. Scattered thunderstorm activity over the coming days will be increasing in the west as moisture does start to come in around that big high, feeding in from the subtropical moisture feed. So we've had not a lot of thunderstorm activity. We had some thunderstorms over Colorado's mountains and western slope yesterday. We're going to kind of see that expand as we go into the weekend and as we go in the next week. We could have a Gulf of Mexico tropical system next week that may actually head west into the southern Rockies, maybe. That's probably for a later podcast, but there's a lot going on all of a sudden in the tropics. So with the clear skies and the high pressure, we've had some evenings where we really haven't had too many thunderstorms, at least along and east of I-25. West of I-25, though, especially in the Colorado, they got into some action yesterday. So here is the infrared satellite imagery. You can see that a large part of the west, there's just still really not a lot going on. There's Hilary down here. And then as you go and take a look at the water vapor, you can see all of the enhanced cloudiness and the next really big area of moisture. And see this area of moisture right here? It's all just coming up this way. It's all headed this way. But this moisture right here is going to be enough to, again, feed some what we call diurnal, afternoon and evening thunderstorms developing in the heat of the day. Now, if we kind of loop it together, you can see how quickly the enhanced cloudiness and the beginning of an eye beginning to want to take shape here with Hilary. Just a lot going on. You can see thunderstorms developing out ahead of it. So we are already looking at tropical storm watches, and eventually a hurricane watch will be issued as this system heads north-northwestward. So this is where we are today. There's Hilary down here. The high is centered over Colorado, but it makes its move east. So for today, just general garden variety thunderstorm coverage in those light green shaded areas you see there. This is what we see for Friday. Again, typical. And this is what we see for Saturday. So the moisture coming up around the high, going to feed the development of some shower and thunderstorm activity. This high, though, is just so impressive that all the weather's got to go up and around it. And that's one reason why that high is going to interplay with Hilary when it comes all together. This is by noon Saturday. The high's over Oklahoma. It's dominant. It's huge. It's like a big wall there. And then here is Hilary coming up off the west coast of Baja, headed this way. This low is also helping to draw it northward. A lot of times you don't see this. It's not frequent, but as we showed you yesterday, historically there is a history of the remnants of hurricanes and tropical storms going into California and the desert Southwest. But it doesn't happen every year. So for you weather watchers out there, you're going to want to grab a beverage, get the radar up and the satellite imagery this weekend and watch this unfold, because it's going to be very interesting to watch to see all this tropical weather move into the desert states. Here is the thunderstorm forecast for Saturday afternoon. This is when it really starts to throw moisture more into the western United States, and then you can see it's going to curve around the high here, but we are going to get some showers and thunderstorms further out into the plains, some activity here along the Gulf Coast, not much into the areas of the midsection. So you're going to really see, especially Saturday, an uptick in showers and thunderstorms. This is by noon Sunday. The high gets stronger, Hillary goes further north along the west coast of the Baja and is going to be drawn in. As we go and take a look at the official forecast, it is forecast soon to become a hurricane. And that's what the H means right there. And then M means a major hurricane. And then it's still a hurricane by Sunday morning here. And then we're down to tropical storm status by Monday morning. And then by Tuesday morning, we're going to be into a tropical depression near Reno. How often do you say a tropical depression near Reno? Well, not often. So if you're a weather watcher, as I said, this could be very interesting to watch. These are the potential for tropical storm force winds through Tuesday morning. So you can see that we have some pretty high probabilities that far southern California, southwest Arizona could be looking at some pretty healthy winds, and I would not leave out southern areas of Nevada around Las Vegas as well. So as we showed you yesterday, we'll show you in the difference in the modeling. Expect this to continue, but you'll notice certain consistencies between the four solutions I'm going to show you. Consistency number one is Southern California, Nevada, and western areas of Arizona, the northwest Mexico. They are really under the gun. Another thing you're going to notice is the moisture as it goes around the big high in the Midwest will be directed all the way up into Canada. Yeah, all the way into Canada. So that will lead to shower and thunderstorm activity increasing along and east of the divide. Near the Continental Divide, moisture will kind of wick in, just slowly increasing for an increased coverage of showers and thunderstorms. So what I'm showing you is the forecast through Tuesday, 6 p.m. So for all of these, it's between today and 6 p.m. Tuesday. So here's the European model. Here is the Canadian model. Like yesterday, the Canadian model has a west bias, with the axis going into central and northern California, eastern Oregon, and eastern Washington, pretty far to the west before curving back over. This is the American model, or the GFS, more similar to the European. It's telling the basic same story of the heaviest moisture and also curving it around the high. And this is the ICON model out of Europe, showing a pattern similar to what the European is showing. But if we just kind of go through these, you can see there's some consistency, but the axis of the heaviest moisture is still kind of out there in terms of some variability, and we'll see where it ends up. But certainly this part of the country right here, I would think, needs to be watching things very, very carefully, because there could be some really, really heavy rains. You know, and the model is just the model. It doesn't necessarily capture everything that's going to be going on here. So the amounts of rain it's showing could very much be on the low end. The Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic heating up. This area right here, I think is going to form at least a tropical depression, maybe a tropical storm. And on the 10-day forecast model, see this trail right here? This is an area of tropical activity that's forecast to maybe go west through Texas. It may even curve into New Mexico and Colorado by the middle of next week. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. But that may be something to watch that could affect the west as well. Then you can tell me where the high pressure ridge is centered right there, as that will be dominant here through the next 7 days. So a lot going on. We'll have an update for you tomorrow.